Yeah, I'm going to talk in a second. All right. Okay. All right. Good morning. Happy New Year. Um, well, nothing's changed. You can see still in the trading range, and it was pretty wild overnight. The initial, you can see here this 5-minute chart. The initial gap up that got sold into, and got sold into, and it came all the way down. I can move this over a little bit. It's fighting with me. Anyway, that little shelf of support there. And now down here. See if I. And it looks like more of the same trading range. And see how today plays out. I think the clock is ticking here. It could have just, end of the year, lower volumes. But I think the clock is ticking here on the market's open door into this small void above, if it can get through this area. And I would suspect what needs to happen, just looking at YM anyway, it's been the strongest, is that this closes with a strong bottoming tail bar, closing near the high of the day. And clearly that would suggest it's going to take it out. We've got the whole day to go. And, one of the things that I mentioned, if anybody didn't see the video that I made, I sent it out to social media and whatever. And of course, it was in the letters, but Telegram, the only reason I'm thinking long whatsoever for a short term is this sentiment being as extreme as it is. And, breadth is coming off of the lows here. It's still below zero, but could have just been so anemic because of just running in place, going nowhere. So it has kind of an open door, at least to get up to the top of the range here as it's built up this little support. And we got a big wide range. I'm scrolling back here. This wide range bar to the downside. So there was a pretty good bout of selling, in that 1 5-minute bar, and buyers stepped up immediately. And now we're within this little range within the bigger range. Presented in letters. Oh, thank you, Rocco. Yeah, I figured go out a little longer in time, and of course, looking at yearly charts, the end of the year, and then seeing how, putting that all in perspective, So same running in place here. S&Ps a little bit stronger, took out the pivot, scroll it back, and I'm just coming down to support as well. I'm just gonna, I got this here from right here, the top of these bars here. Interesting, as it usually lines up. One of the things that I like to point out of that, what we call is minor support and minor resistance being subjective, and then typically there's some kind of reaction on the way up, and here it is. You can see that lining up right where those pivots formed. And so same story here in the S&Ps and in YM as this moves up, and this has the converging MAs right up above that are aligned with this pivot. Okay. So that'll be an obvious reference point where if it can even get there, that it's going to bump on its head. And yeah, top of the bar, couldn't get there last night. So sellers stopped in, before that got there. I'm scrolling this, so you can see like little breakout failure. It's subtle, but as prices run up, as these did, and then going sideways, and you see a bar like that one, and it closes almost at the high, and then immediately it breaks, it's going to bring in some sellers, and then it comes down to the next level and wind up feeding on itself, coming all the way back down. And you can see NQs were up. Well, they were up a bunch now from the open. They're down like everything else. And they're acting a little better, but still at that resistance level. So we're just continuing to deal with this mess here that as we went into the end of the year, okay, was the end of the year, volumes, people going away and so on. And so we'll see how this plays out. But this has the greatest ability, I think, to have some kind of a counter trend rally since it's closer to support. And if we look at the Qs, looks a little cleaner than the futures. As it came down real hard, you see the strong momentum to the downside, and then fewer bars into the area of support. So the momentum begins to slow. And then there was a couple of days of chopping sideways. You could see the weekly ended up with a bottoming tail bar. And now prices are gapping above here. And so it's a constructive pattern for at least the short term until it gets to some resistance. And we'll see what it does when it gets there. So right now, is it gapping up within a downtrend? My bias would be to buy a pullback into the top of these bars, which is actually below here. So we won't have the intraday pre-market data lining up with the daytime data, 9:30 to 4, but we'll see how it plays out. It's not a clean pattern. And so if we go out to the hourly chart here, that's one of the things I mentioned in the video, when things are, such a mess, go out to higher time frames and see how it makes sense. And so I'm just looking at where it is right now, 296. So gapping above here, that's good. And let's see, that is, yeah, it still has to go through the pre-market data, which should be okay. But as it comes down into this area, right, what was resistance becomes support, and then it begins to turn up. I sure will, Don. I do it every day. All right, so just bias there. And so we'll look at spiders and see how it lines up with Qs, with the gap. And so you can see my cursor going along the chart there, right? So as I look at what's happening pre-market, we're looking at how that lines up with the data that preceded it. And so now that we've got this big bottoming tail bar, this red bar ignored, that day, what was it, Friday? Well, 3 days will really mess you up. Not being in the market there a little bit, but it took out that bar's low. And so we'll be looking at this overlapping bars here, which is just indecision, and applying bar by bar. It is supportive that if it can clear these highs, right, which it is or did pre-market, it should be able to move up to the next level, which is this pivot high right there. And so now as I drag this up, and let me reproduce this, just so everybody gets the idea of what I'll be doing on my other system, just to mark off my reference points. Well, I should have reproduced the green one, right? So this one marking as green since it's gapping above. And so coming down into this area is where we want to see a pattern like this, apply bar by bar to a pattern that suggests buyers are stepping up in this area. And because of the gap up in the bottoming pattern, right? It should be able to get through this and theoretically maybe get up to those moving averages. Now, it's got a little bit of a bottom here. So the question really becomes, if it starts moving higher, this really shouldn't be much of any significant resistance because they're just moving averages. And if I change those moving averages to exponential ones or weighted ones or some other number, it moves them around. And that, tells you how subjective moving averages are. But enough people watching them, they're going to be, hey, can it get through the 50 MA? And if we look to the left, there's this little end of day drop or whatever, why it says, end of day, and then it gapped down. So theoretically, it should be able to get somewhere up in here. But again, if it can't get through this area, sellers are taking control more aggressively, and we update information as it's provided to us. And right now, as I said, the internals are supportive that prices could move up a bit. The higher time frames are supportive of sellers are just waiting up above to slam it back down again. And so we'll see how that all plays out. All right, let me just take a peek at options here. I don't know what was going on with Zoom this morning. And you could reference what I said about options activity in the advisory letter. I was kind of this isn't filling through now because I didn't look at it anyway. For SPX, you'd want to get below this bar. They zeroed out you want to be below 3,800 or as close as possible. And I don't know what the premium is there, but you want to be below here, and ideally above 3,900. Just those whole numbers. I don't know what the quotes are there, but just looking at the charts, and that's not that far away. Let me go back to SPY. See where that is. Okay, it's far enough away. It should hold there. You want to be on the other side of those numbers. All right, I'm gonna pass it off to Dan. We got this late start because for the most part, everything else, nothing much is happening here. Well, that's significant. 10-year moving down like that. What's the dollar doing? I gotta look. And that's gapping up, so they're going in opposite directions rather than moving together. But interest rates moving up. We'll take a look at Home Depot and home builders, since they've been struggling, and as this comes down, they should be able to rebound today. So that's something that we'll be looking for. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Happy New Year. Yeah, sorry about those problems logging in today. So I have a bullish bias for the bounce. I mean, there was a ton of bullish setups over the weekend. If we could take out last week's high, which we're doing now, but we had an end of day rally, and now we gapped up pre-market and rallying. So as Greg said, I'm not doing anything at the open. I have alarms going off left and right here of our bullish new trade ideas. And so, actually let me send a text alert to our subscribers wait for pullbacks on things. Wait for pullback or 5-minute high, provided not excessive gap. Because this is what I'll be focusing on, is my big old watch list here and seeing which ones are ripe for entry, and that means putting them in a 5-minute chart and seeing what they do. All right, so under last Wednesday's low, I was short. Spiders, we're gapping up over Thursday's high with a price void, but extended. So there you have it. Netflix, I see gapping up here nicely. This was a put spread idea. Look at all these put spread ideas. It's put spread galore. So AXP, we're already in this long, but I said it looks like an ad over Friday's high. DHI. I've been watching this thing for like 3 weeks, ever since this 1, 2, 3, which never triggered, and now it is. Now it is. So that's good to go. 5-minute high or pullback. Hey, can you all see my arrow? I put in a new current version of TradeStation here. All right, excellent. Yes, good job. All righty. See, that was my New Year resolution, Alex. I was waiting for the new year to.
So Dan, was the problem TradeStation or the computer?
TradeStation.
I knew
As
that
of now.
program was a piece of crap.
All right, I got alarms everywhere. I'm going to be so busy with alarms here. Yeah, TLT. Yeah, we looked at TBT. Look at Momo, we're already in, but that looks great. 30-minute high, maybe you can add or pull back. Sloppy, you know, it's a big old rectangle. This is a good example of how we read classical patterns. I mean, this is just bullish price action in the upper part of this igniting, and it's resting, and now it's going sideways. Algin here, we're already in this. So now we're getting, wait, we're in a put spread. Looks great. WMS, put alarm. Wow. ETN alarm. I'm just getting slammed with alarms here. All right, so if this one's a clean hit, so this one's good to go. ETN. ETN is it's at this prior high, so let's wait 5-minute high on that one. ETN 5-minute high, good. WMS hit. WMS hit clean. So I got to go through all of these. Oh, CBS here, bottom right. Wow, it's got a downgrade today, but I actually set an up alarm, being a Climo here, but wow, that's ugly. That looks like it's headed to 88 now. SIG, a SIG up alarm, SIG 5-minute high. So this is how